Hey guys, it's Dylan. Now, one of my biggest pet peeves are people who don't know how to drive. Now, when I say that, I don't mean, the idiots that are driving the speed limit when you're trying to go 30 miles over the speed limit. No, you're actually one of the people that I'm talking about. You see, I have compiled a very short list within the span of a few minutes of about 5 things that you look like you forgot from driver's ed. Now, when I say this, I don't mean specifically rules of the road from driver's ed. Not just all of them. Now, these are only 5 things that recently play in my mind almost every single time. And it's not just rules, it is also safety tips that some people don't really use. Now, the very first thing is something that happens to me almost every single day, and that is people who turn right when the left arrow is turning. Now, of course, if you were to turn right onto the right lane, that's not always the biggest of deal. But when you're going straight and you turn right into the far left lane, you're legitimately going into oncoming traffic, meaning that somebody is eventually going to hit somebody else had you both been going the same speed. Now, if you were driving and turning into the right lane, when that arrow just turns, that's one thing. But when you're looking around and you're like, oh, everybody's stopped, I guess I can go, that's not always the best thing. Because again, if you were turning into the left lane while turning right, while the left arrow is coming at you, you are now blocking off them. You are not in the right of way. You're supposed to be staying way over here while the people in the left arrow, having the right of way with the green arrow, turn. And you're supposed to wait patiently like a good person. Anyway. That's one of the biggest things in my mind. And then the other things are, ones that you can't always tell. And I'm not always, I'm not that upset with this. It's understandable that you don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but doing that same exact thing when the person that's turning right and it's on the opposite side, making the U-turn. Now, again, because they have the left arrow, they have the right of way, you can only go when you know it's safe. Now, when somebody's making that U-turn, as you're trying to make that right-hand turn and that person is making that U-turn, again, you're in that area. Because some vehicles, I apologize about that, some older vehicles do not have a very sharp turning radius. They cannot turn on a dime and go straight into the left lane from the left lane. Some older trucks, like the ones that I drive, have to take up 3 lanes because that's as tight as their vehicle will go. So when you're turning into that right lane, again, you are obstructing traffic. Another one that I see a lot of people do is those that, as they're driving, they stop, and then the person behind them, they get right up onto them, which spells crash all over it. Now, what they say you're supposed to do is you're supposed to stop before the tires disappear. Where you stop, you're supposed to be able to see the tires of the car in front of you touching the pavement. Now, I see a lot of drivers that are too impatient and don't know when to stop. The people I know doing that very same thing where they're stopping right behind the person to where, oh, I know how far away they are, and they're that close. Now, of course, you may not think that's a big deal, but when you're so used to stopping here, and you just start inching closer and closer, and you don't realize it happening. So that last second, oh, I know when to stop, and you hit them a little too hard, you cause a dent, you cause the crash, you're at fault here. Because you don't know how to stop. If you were to stop back here consistently every single time, the odds of you hitting that person is very slim because you know when to stop. Now, yes, in emergency situations, you can't always stop that far back, but you should know how far away your truck is, or your vehicle for that matter, at all times. You should always stop where you can see the tires of the car in front of you touching the pavement. Another one of those things that bug me all the time. Something else that also bugs me is something that's actually illegal in a lot of states: using your turn signals. No, it's not illegal to use your turn signals, it's illegal not to use them. There are a lot of people on the road, and a lot of people do it when there are nobody around, and yes, that's understandable, but it's still good habit. Think about it. When you brush your teeth every day, you don't think about it, it just happens. But that one day that you don't brush your teeth, you might as well stop brushing your teeth for a week. Because, oh, I missed one day. So I can probably miss another day, that's okay, and that's where the procrastination starts. The second you stop doing that good habit is the second that good habit disappears. The reason it's a good habit is because you keep doing it over and over again. So no matter where you are, you should always use your turn signals. Even if you're alone, it's a good habit. The very next thing that I would like to talk about would be checking your blind spots, checking your mirrors. A lot of accidents on the road happen because of said blind spots not being checked. Now, yes, you can't look everywhere all at the same time. Everybody can't. It's not possible. However, you can diminish as much as you can by checking your mirrors and blind spots. Yes, after you turn on your signal. You learn in driver's ed not to do it and then turn on your signal and change lanes as soon as you can. No, you turn on your signal, you check the mirror, you check this blind spot, and that's when you go. The reasoning why you check your blind spot and you check your mirror afterwards, because I know what you're thinking. Oh, I know exactly where they are, I can do it. That's when the crash happens, because you think you can. You don't know you can, you think you can. And that's the biggest problem here. You turn on your signal, not because, other people are idiots and they don't know how to drive. You turn on your signal to show that you know what you're doing, and you want other people to know what you're doing. The reason why a crash happens is not because other people are not paying attention, it's because you're not paying attention. Most of the time, when you're at fault for an accident, it's because you're at fault. It's not because somebody else hit you. It's because there's something that you should have done, or rather you could have done for that matter, that you chose not to do because you thought it was a waste of time. These tips, the safety, and these rules are in there for a reason. After all, would you be driving a car without an airbag? Without a seatbelt? Without a windshield? At 50, 60, 70, 80 miles per hour? You probably wouldn't. But the reasoning why they're there is because of that safety. Because if you're driving 80 miles an hour without a windshield, you're going to be pressed up against that seat as hard as you can. Granted, 80 miles an hour. And the second something flies up from the car in front of you, there goes your eye. Well, now that you can't see because you have dust in your eye, your eyes are going to water, your hand's going to instinctively go to your eyes to rub it away and get it out. Now your eyes are off the road. Now you're swerving, but you don't realize this because your eyes are not on the road. So now you're in the middle between two lanes. That's very hazardous. So the reasoning why the windshield is there, the reasoning why the seatbelt is there, the reasoning why the airbags are there is to keep you safe. If you don't follow other safety rules, then what's the point of being safe in one aspect? The second you throw away any little bit of safety, it's the second you might as well throw away all of it. Yes, it's that 1% chance. But what happens when that 1% chance is your child? Or you, for that matter. How are your parents going to feel, depending on your age demographic here? If you don't want it happening to your family member, don't do it yourself. Because you never know who's driving in that car next to you. There are way more things that I could say, and I have a few stories that I would like to tell about terrible drivers that don't do what they should do just because they're impatient. But I really wanted to get those few things out because so many people don't realize the fact that they're not doing this when you really should, because it helps out everybody around you. Don't worry about other people becoming better drivers. The better driver you become, the better everybody else will seem. More or less. The safer everybody else will. The safer you will be. Words are not my strong suit. Calm down. So, I guess aside from that, unless I can think of anything within the next couple of seconds, I believe I'm done here. So just Right. Work on becoming a defensive driver, not an offensive driver. There are three types of drivers in this world. There's aggressive, there's offensive, and then there's defensive. Now, offensive doesn't really fall. It's normally defensive or aggressive, and aggressive is really exaggerated. But a defensive driver is the person who will drive the speed limit no matter how slow the car in front of them is going. If they're driving the speed limit, you're driving the speed limit. This person will change lanes when they can, not when they have to. People like that, one of those stupid ass drivers that you see driving on the road only because they're driving the speed limit. Not the people that are zooming in and out of traffic, because those are the people that will get into the most accidents. In fact, those are the people that I wish were to get into accidents. Not even themselves, to have their entire family in the car and then have them be the only ones to survive from that accident, because maybe then they'll realize how much of a terrible driver they are. It's something that I have a vendetta with, and I hate it. That people don't know how to drive because they drive too aggressively. I guess that's all I have to say.